Hey everyone, I'm Lauren Fletcher with Work Truck, and welcome back to Truck Chat Fleet 101, where we break down the basics and build up your fleet knowledge. Today, we're diving into something that can get real complicated real fast, speccing and building a commercial work truck. Whether you're new to fleet or just want to understand what happens between placing an order and getting a work-ready truck on the ground, this episode's for you. Joining me is Jacob Larimore, Chief Operating Officer at EAVX at JB Poindexter Co business unit, that brings together body, chassis, tech, and design to push forward next-generation commercial vehicles. Jacob, welcome to Truck Chat.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. So we're going to start simple. Most people know how to buy a personal vehicle, but it's a completely different ballgame when it comes to commercial trucks. Can you walk us through what a typical work truck buying process looks like for a business?
Like you said, buying a work truck is a more daunting task than just buying one of your own personal vehicles. And the primary reason for that is because it requires multiple purchases. Typically, the user will start by selecting a chassis, and they have a wide variety of chassis that they can choose from. Strip chassis, cab chassis, for instance, and then they select an upfit. And there's a general understanding in the industry that a customer goes out and buys these two separate things and issues two separate invoices. And then the companies that produce these chassis and body upfits find some way to work together in the background to put it all together. That produces a final vehicle, but often the vehicle is even more complex than that because every user has a unique set of requirements and details of their upfit that also have to be applied to it. So it can often involve multiple suppliers. There's a lot of decision points. They're highly customized, which can lead to pretty long lead times as well. So yeah, it's a very complicated process.
So, as you noted, there's all these different options and every business is different. There's, plumbers, delivery companies, utility fleets. How do businesses determine what type of truck even best suits their needs to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of legacy that goes into determining what type of truck that they need and the type of upfit that they need. Frankly, some of it's even more so like tribal knowledge. And like you said, trade-specific packages. So the upfitters have been doing this for a long time, like JB Co, for instance. Depending on the job function, the payload needs, the operational efficiency, or the size of the fleet, we can recommend some basic upfit packages. Some of the larger fleets have a pretty good idea of what a plumber or an electrician trade package is. But usually what happens is the business owner has some idea of their specific needs, and that's why we end up with this custom upfit kind of application. But there are the defaults. If you go to one of our companies, for instance, Masterac, and you're an electrician and you're just getting into the business or buying a new van, you can go on there and say, I need an electrician's trade package, and it'll give you a starter, right? This is your full list of upfit needs, and these are the products which you can purchase and then have installed.
Well, that's really helpful. We kind of dug into this a little bit in the first question, but is there anything more about how the truck is actually built, starting from buying the chassis, adding the body, getting the upfit all together, that you want to add on to?
Yeah, it's basically a three-step process, and it starts with the OEM, the big names that a lot of people know: Ford, GM, Stellantis, Freightliner, right? All of these guys, Isuzu, produce the chassis, right? That's the backbone of the vehicle itself, and that's going to consist of the frame, the powertrain, maybe the cab, maybe not. So that's where it starts, is with the OEM and the chassis. The secondary step is the body selection, and that's a lot of what JB Pico does, whether it's a box from a company like Morgan or service body from a company like Redding. Actually, in that latter example, the service body like Redding is where we see immense upfit and customization after that body is even installed, right? They want a generator installed, but not just any generator, the one that they're used to using in their fleet. I want that specific one, right? And they need an air compressor, they need a crane, they need a bucket, and maybe we want to get the bucket specifically from Terex, right? All of those things are stacked up in the build process and come after the body is installed. So I really see it as kind of a three-step process: the chassis, the body, and the detailed upfit that comes afterwards.
So we may have kind of gotten into this one again a little bit, but there are clearly a lot of players in this space: the OEMs, the body manufacturers, upfitters. Can you help us understand who's involved in the process and how they all work together to get that truck road ready?
Yeah, and I think it varies a little bit depending on if this is a large fleet or an individual, right? The fleet managers know better than anybody, right? So when we really start to upfit a vehicle, that's the first place that we go to is to talk to the manager, build on the experience that they have with all the vehicles that they're currently managing today to correct the problems that they've had in the past and make sure that when we build this one, it meets their current operational needs. So yeah, it goes all the way across the board from the OEMs to the body manufacturer, the upfit partner, down to the fleet managers or the owner operator himself.
So it's a complete ecosystem that all kind of has to work really well together to make that final product happen.
Absolutely, yes.
And I got to say, I love the shout out to the fleet managers there that, they really know best what's going on. I'm sure they're going
Yeah.
to love hearing that. So we know lead times, costs, supply chain delays are real issues and ongoing and changing every single day. What are some of the bigger challenges you're seeing today when it comes to getting that commercial truck upfitted and delivered?
Oh man, when it comes to the challenges, I just described all the touch points, right, of all the different people that are involved, but the logistics that fit in between are really challenging as well. Sometimes these vehicles are flatbedded from one location to the next 4 or 5 times to get all the different equipment installed that they actually need to, which adds to lead times, right? That's one of the reasons why JB Pico is as successful as it is, because we try to bring a lot of these different components under one overall brand, right? Streamlining our delivery process. That's why we do offer upfits, across the board from Morgan Olson on the body side of things to Redding and Mastrack with the individual upfits, or even Redding service centers where these things can be added after the fact. That's kind of the advantage that we offer to the industry is that we do it all. Outside of that, like I said, it gets shipped around all over the place. Often some of these things can even only be done by the mom and pop shops that are out there and are really critical to supporting the industry overall. But yeah, the logistics are the hardest part.
And I think this one's going to matter a lot to fleet managers, whether they're new or veteran. How are they balancing performance needs with budgets and timing? Or maybe not even how are they, but how can they?
Well, I like to think of it like this. Work trucks are tools, nothing more, right? And they better not be anything more because our customers aren't going to pay for it. They're there to do a job, and we have to keep a focus on that point because the fleet owner operators are not going to pay for things that don't help them do their job better, more efficiently, more safely, more ergonomically, right? Now that's tempered with the fact, like we've been discussing, that there's significant amount of customization that goes into these vehicles. And with customization comes added cost and extended lead times, right? So that's the balance that has to be struck. But we try to keep our eye on the fact that these are tools first and foremost, and we know what's important to the fleet owner operators. And yeah, we really try to keep an emphasis on that tool function.
So many of the shows I've been to lately, full height walk in, walk through vans are really getting popular across a lot of industries. Do you have any insights into why these vans are starting to gain traction and what businesses are really benefiting the most from them?
Well, they're unique in the scope of work truck vehicles, these full height walk-in vans, and that it should even be differentiated from standard height walk-in vans. And they have a target application segment where the difference really is the frequency of stops that the worker or the driver is doing in any given day. If the operator of the vehicle is frequently entering and exiting the vehicle to do work inside of it or to take goods in and out of the vehicle, like a last mile delivery segment type of application, that's where these kind of vans really shine, right? They prioritize cubic space over payload and improved ergonomic efficiency. The vehicle interior is the work site, as opposed to a Redding service vehicle showing up at a work site and it containing the tools that they need, but the work actually happening outside of the vehicle. That's the differentiating factor and why we see this particular segment really kind of rise in popularity because there's a significant rise in the distribution of goods across this country.
That was a great distinction.
Thank you.
So, some features fly under the radar, but can make a gigantic difference in operation, ergonomics, so many different ways of utilizing the vehicle. What would you say are some overlooked design or feature choices that might really help some on-the-job performance or safety?
Yeah, I highlighted a couple of them just now, especially with the full height walk-in vans. Ergonomics and easy access are underrated attributes of these vehicles. And I think they've been overlooked for a long time, right? In this industry, we've prioritized durability and general functionality of the vehicle, sometimes over the ergonomics and ease of access. And I think that's changing in the industry. I think there's a desire from owner operators to put a higher emphasis while maintaining that durability element to increase productivity, increase operator safety. Another thing that is, I think, a differentiator in the market is general situational awareness, right? Not only how do I get in and out and operate around the vehicle effectively and safely, but how do I make the driver aware of their surroundings, aware of issues, that may be present outside of the vehicle, or even security concerns, right? Some of these vehicles are operated in areas that are not always safe. How do we make them aware of a security concern before they step out of their nice, safe cocoon of a vehicle, right? I think this is something that is going to be a differentiator in the market moving forward.
And I mean, they're carrying a lot of expensive tools and equipment and gear as well. So, fleets want to make sure that that's safe, as well as their drivers and everything else. So keeping an eye on that.
Absolutely.
So, for someone newer to the space, GVWR, payload capacity, some of the things around that can feel a little bit more like a foreign language. Can you break down why these weight ratings matter and how they impact what a business can legally and safely do with a truck?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. We know that GVWR is often exceeded for a vehicle, and that presents a lot of risks, especially for the owner and operator of the vehicle. At the same time, payload is essential for most commercial users, right? These vehicles perform really tough jobs in tough locations, and maximizing the legal load capacity is key to improving the vehicle's efficiency and safety. So we put a lot of work into lightweighting of our products to improve the available payload, right? For any given vehicle class, there's a limit on the GVWR of the vehicle. What we can do is make improvements to the upfit or even the cab of the vehicle to offer a little bit more space on the payload side of things for the end user. So we try to keep that in mind as we go through our designs every day.
I mean, we've all seen those overloaded trucks driving down the road, or the suspension overloaded, the trailers going crazy. I think that, definitely matters. And as you noted, making sure you can still haul what you need to haul to the job sites or wherever you're going matters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're trying to develop things too that help make the driver aware of where there may be a problem. So implementing technology that can detect shifts in cargo throughout the vehicle. If we're towing a trailer, can we determine if the tongue weight is inappropriate for the application and create an unstable kind of towing environment? We're looking at all kinds of things like this to simply provide the information to the user to say, look, we know you got a job to do, but you might want to consider changing this or that to improve the safety of the system.
That makes a perfect segue to the end of our conversation, which is kind of looking at where it's all going. So, how are technologies like telematics, driver assist systems, AI-driven fleet tools changing how businesses are managing, operating, buying, speccing work trucks today?
Well, look, vehicles have been producing data for years, enormous amounts of data. But turning data into actionable insights is a big challenge. I like to say that data in and of itself is not a solution, it's just another problem, right? Understanding the insights of that data and doing something with it That's where the real key is. AI is starting to help with some of this. Parsing this big data and having a conversation with that data using AI is making it easier for us to understand it, for end users to simply interact with the data that's coming from telematics and understand what it means for their fleet and uncover the real value. But I think we're really just kind of tip of the iceberg scenario when it comes to this.
It's exciting. I think, you noted that we've had a lot of data, the concept data overload, big data has been, buzzwords for quite some time.
Yeah.
But I think that the big change we're seeing is that action. Now we're starting to get a little bit of help, I think, with some of the AI tools to figure out what to do with some of that data. So I think that's really exciting for the future.
Yeah, I heard this commentary of using AI to have a conversation with the data at a conference years ago, and it's kind of always stuck with me. That's really what AI is good at. It can make your data, which is often unapproachable, almost conversational. And that's going to be a game changer for this industry, as well as many others.
I love it. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for joining me today and helping break down what can feel like a pretty complex process.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time, Lauren, and it's been great being on here.
For more interviews and fleet tips, be sure to check out worktruckonline.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss a Fleet 101 episode from Truck Chat. We'll catch you next time.